Hello, everyone. My name is Hao, and today I'm going to talk about medias and the Western representation of the Arab nations. So it begins with the Western media portrait of the Arab nations. The Western representation of Muslims and the Arabic nation is not a recent fabrication, but it had been operational and deep rooted in the Western conceptualization ever since the first contact with the Arab and the Muslims by the Western worlds. The characterization of the Middle East and the Arab culture began during the silent movie era of the 1920s. The Arabic depiction was in line with the general political and historical environment of the time, and some of the common mistaken depiction of the Arabic nation includes villain, terrorists, and magicians, all of which are in negative terms, you know, prejudice against the Arabic people. And the history of Arabs and the Western films, you know, it has all been like stereotypical, redundant in such a negative ways in depicting the Arabic people. The Arab others, these depictions include the Arabic order, the Orientalism, which the Western world has long been um, disagreed with because they're different with the Oriental people and some of their cultures are in conflict. And the systematic creation of the difference that distinguish the civilized West from the backward East, that's a major thing in bringing in such an impact. The objectification of the Eastern culture by the distortion in which myths are mixed by with the reality, and the Orient is a perilous place that should be controlled. That's what they think. So I think the Western nations has long, they think they're advantageous, they're more privileged over the rest of the world, and that play a huge role in their politics makings and into what they portray the Eastern people, the Oriental people. We have seen that a lot against whether it's Arabic or even some of the East Asian countries such as China and maybe North Korea, stuff like that. This is just a quote from uh, from a famous scholar. It says some of the westernized opinions against the Arabic people. Most of which are in negative terms in describing the Arabic nations. So the Arab portrayal throughout Western political history. As I stated earlier, um, policy makers are really the people to blame for putting the Arabic nation in such negative image, because they like to think that they're on top, and they would love for others to obey them, and if they don't, in most cases, they're gonna use medias and other ways and means to to punish the image of the Arabic nations. The Western media has often projected individuals of Arab descent in a negative manner. So, take from example, let's take the Oklahoma bombing back in the 1995. The media portrayal of the events, they use some of the words like terrorists and stuff like Middle East people, but really it was like a bunch of Americans who did that, and they associated the event with so many negative images, along with the Arabic people, which really put the Islamic and Arabic community to shame, and thus, some civil unrest. These are the some of the early films. So that's before World War II, and the rap was was like fantasy, often sexual, because you know the the people of the rap look Oriental. It's like a fantasy to the Western world because they looks in such different way, and they're not used to see some of the um, Orientalism, Oriental myth, and they would love to uncover that. And the Arab function, like the Arab nations, they essentially function as a mythical thing for the Western world. And then the other interesting thing is that they took the Arabic people and put them into such a pervert role, wanting blonde American girls for them. And then post World War II, oftentimes they do with Arabic people is that they associate negative images, like negative roles, whether it be like funny but in a bad way. They assign these roles to those people. So um, a recent example would be the film Dictator. It's I think it's cast by a Eastern player, and then the whole film was talking about how this Arabic guy, dictates the world, and and since it was in the national stage, it really put huge influence on other people, and everybody sort of see that coming with the Arabic nations, the Arabic people. Since there was so much terrorist events going on that are casted by Western media as terrorism, terrorist attacks. So we're so used to thinking that these people are just bad people. So this is just another event that that's leading to today's is taking image of the Arabic nation since their since their act was not in the since they did not obey the Western order, I guess, of those like policymakers, they were not happy about that. This is just another example. So um, this event, the embargo on the Israel allies in 1973, they saw the whole Middle East as a growing threat because they're such resourceful in oil, and then the Arabs are still as others, but with oil and power. They're united in the opposition to the West and Israel. So much you can think that the whole Iraq War was nothing about freedom, but really about United States gaining its profit and control in the whole region. And then these are the following events, such as the murder of the Olympic athletes. These events are just another examples to, to put the Western stereotypical ways of looking at Arabic people and some of the very horrific events that came along with it. And really, some of the Western media even portrayed Arab as an extension of a Nazi threat, which is it's unbelievable today to see. And these are just some of the other facts, you know, the coming some of the negative association coming from the Western media, put upon that trying to put shame upon the some of the Middle Eastern people, such as the racist term, raghead, you know, it's really some extreme words. You won't even use it today against other people. So after the first Gulf War and then at the end of Cold War, Arab Arab nations are seen as some terrorists and murderers due to how the media represents them. The newspaper use like keywords such as like extremist, terrorists, and fanatics to describe them, but really were made mistaken because the word jihad and all of its negative associations are just some are just like misconceptions because really jihad, the term in Islamic religion, it means to give um, unselfishly, to sacrifice oneself. But but it's but how, it's interesting how how the Western media use it today as holy war, and for those Arabic people, for those Muslim believers, to describe them as terrorists and put shame to the whole Arabic and Muslim community. So much so that the media makes us think that being Arabic and being a Muslim, the two events are mutually exclusive, but really it isn't. Being an Arabic, you don't have to be a Muslim to be Arabic, and you don't have to be Arabic to be Muslim. So this is the first misconception, and the second one, like all those terrorist attacks, a few of them, it's caused by a few of the extreme religious groups such as Al Qaeda, the ISS. These people, you can't categorize the whole nation, a whole like a race, a whole religion based upon a few selective individuals because you see that everywhere. You see bad people, like few bad groups among the whole united populations. You can't categorize that. You can put like the whole Arabic people into the term terrorist. It's just foul, you know. And these are some of the other facts that I took that I got from the internet, such as this one. Director James Cameron thanked U.S. military for their support, you know, in the Islamic terrorist organization attacking NYC. It's first the policymakers turn these events into like public hatred towards Arabic people for bombing their city. So the Arabic nation essentially acted as scapegoats for the policymakers. But really, it's their fault, the policymakers. They made us think that way. And then the media stopped doing their job, stopped telling the truth, but helped fabricate such lies. And these are some sample clips that I got online. Basically, they're just the misconception of the Arabic people by the Western media. It's just horrific, funny in a bad way to look at them now. Now that we learn so much about Muslim and the Arabic nature, culture. Here's the links. And then, yeah, that's all for today. Thank you guys for watching.